It's true. Bamboo bedding is dreamy to sleep on. That's why Quince aptly named their Bamboo Dream Quilt Set. Coming in 12 colors, you're absolutely going to love this quilt and 2 shams set. Starting at the softest of pinks and going all the way to a dark navy. It's going to be perfect for anyone's room. Your own, your guest rooms, your kids' rooms, maybe even back to the dorm bedding. Quince has everything you need to elevate your space, from bedding to soft organic towels, airy curtains, and premium kitchen tools designed for everyday use. And of course, as you know, Quince has gorgeous cashmere and other wardrobe essentials. And the best part, Quince's products are half the cost of similar brands. They partner with top artisans and cut out the cost of the middleman, passing the savings on to us. Thank you, Quince. And they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, so you can feel good about your purchases from Quince. Elevate your space with home essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT.
Spend here, not there. Hi, I'm Anita Joyce here with Kelly Wilkness, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. Today we're talking about what to splurge on in several rooms of your house. And you know, this is a difficult decision. What is worth spending money on and what is really something that you shouldn't spend money on? This is a question that we get. And I think that's something that, well, we decided it was worth a whole episode, right, Kelly?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're going to spend some money, we ought to talk about it. And so you can get our thoughts on where we would spend a major part of our budget for each one of these rooms. And Anita's going to explain to you sort of what we mean by the word splurge, because splurge can really mean piles of cash, but it doesn't have to, right?
Right. So when we say splurge on these things, we mean these are the important things. So if you're going to have to up the amount that you're going to spend, then do that on these items. So what we're saying is these are important items, so you really don't want to skimp on them. But, you know, look, there are deals that can be found. When we say splurge, we don't mean you have to spend a lot of money. We mean really get quality items. And if you can get it, it's on sale or get it secondhand to get a great deal on it, then go for it. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying these things are worth splurging on. These are the things that where you really want something of quality.
Yes, well put. So you want to kick it off with the living room?
Well, I think the most important item in that living room is the sofa. And boy, is this important. This is where you're this piece of furniture, and I'm not going to count the mattress because that's, you know, a third of your life is spent there. But with that exception, I think you're probably going to be on your sofa sitting there more than about any other place in your house. Well, maybe at the kitchen table, but you know, some people use their living room more than others, but this is a place that you want to relax. This is a place where you're going to entertain people. This is a place where you're probably going to watch TV and hang out. So it really does need to be comfortable. And to get a comfortable sofa, unfortunately, most of the time means spending a good bit of money. There are so many bad sofas out there. And one tip I'm going to have for getting a really good quality sofa is to make sure that you can sit on it in person. Now, I know there's so many great places to buy from online. And if you do that, that's fine. But you're going to have to heavily rely on the description and on those reviews. And I can't tell you how many times I've bought something and it said, oh, very comfortable. And you get it and you're thinking, this thing is as hard as a rock. So I don't know, you know, like, what do you weigh? 5 pounds? I mean, because this thing is like, it's not comfortable.
Yeah. It's really hard to choose a sofa online. And particularly since we have it in the splurge category, the category where we think you should be spending more money on it, you don't want to risk it. So I would say try to limit yourself to places where you can go sit on it. Most likely people are going to have at least a Pottery Barn or a West Elm near them. Maybe if you even go up a little bit, a Restoration Hardware. There's probably places, I think some lucky people even have Ballard near them. So they have great sofas. You can also, of course, get recommendations from trusted friends. But I think like a mattress, a sofa is very personal. If you like to nap on it, does it have to be a certain length? Do you like a firmer sit or a squishier sit? We can give you some general recommendations. And in fact, we have a fantastic episode. It was one of our earlier ones about choosing a sofa. And we give you a lot of criteria on what you want to be looking for, things you might not even know that you had to look for, things you might not even know are going on inside your sofa. So I would suggest that you check that episode out. And I'm sure Anita can put that in the show notes for us.
Here we're saying this is something really worth spending money on, but I don't know if you've also heard the word out there that you are supposed to replace your sofa every 7 years. I don't know if you've heard that, but I am going to call hogwash on that one. If you buy a quality sofa, it can last a long, long time. I have had my sofa for a very long time. I made slip covers for it, and we washed the slip covers, and it's held up extremely well. It was an expensive sofa. And am I replacing that? I am not replacing it because first off, it works just great for us. And secondly, when we went and looked at some other sofas and they weren't cheap, it was not as comfortable as this sofa. So you betcha we're going to be keeping it for quite a while longer.
Let me just clarify if hogwash also means BS, because if it does, I totally agree. Yes, I think that's silly. Replace your sofa every 7 years. I wouldn't do that at all. But here's an option. If you really want a quality sofa, but you don't want to spend a lot on a sofa, or you can't spend a lot on a sofa, and you agree it's a splurge item. Now, I hesitate to tell people to buy upholstered things secondhand, but I'm not talking about, picking it up for free from the curb. I'm talking maybe a trusted consignment store. There are a lot of great consignment stores or even thrift stores. So you have to be familiar with the quality and whatnot. But you can purchase a quality sofa that maybe just somebody didn't need anymore. Maybe it was too big for wherever they were going or too small. And you can, of course, keep it as is. You could get the cushions cleaned. You can also reupholster it in an inexpensive fabric. So you still have a beautiful foundation of a great sofa, but you haven't spent that much money for it. I did that. I wanted a certain style sofa for our home here, and I found it at a local thrift store, my favorite. At the time, it's now closed, but it was great, and it was an absolutely heinous fabric. And so but the design was terrific, and the quality of the sofa was fantastic. So I just had it reupholstered. Now, at the end of the day, I spent less than I probably would have, and I also wanted a particular type of sofa. So I got exactly what I wanted. And then I was able to choose the fabric that I wanted. So that's an option to get the splurge quality without spending the splurge cash.
Definitely a very viable option. And I also agree, just be careful where you're looking for it. If it's used, turn those cushions over, maybe give it a good sniff just to make sure there's no weird smells. And I think that, yes, I've seen some very nice sofas at consignment stores in my life. It's very nice ones. So that is definitely, I think it's a good option.
When my parents were living in Naples, there were people coming and going from there all the time or just redecorating. The consignment stores there were crazy. I mean, it was like the stuff just came off the showroom floor, and a year later it would end up in these consignment stores. So you could really get some fantastic deals on some quality pieces that were in great shape. So you might have something like that nearby. So check that out.
Yeah, I think what you really want is a down wrapped foam cushion on the sofa. That's what we have on ours, and it is super comfortable. The down is what's going to give it the comfort. That's what's going to give it the softness. But the foam is going to help allow the cushion to bounce back when you stand up and get off of the sofa. And if you've ever gotten up from a sofa that was really soft and squishy and very delicious, but the sofa looked like it had been in a fight when you got up, then it probably was just a down cushion, and the 100% down cushions, it's like a down pillow. It's got to be reshaped every time you get up if you want it to look nice and neat and tidy. So that's why you want one with both.
Yes, best of both worlds there. So another thing that I would suggest splurging on in your living room are the window treatments. Now, there are a lot of window treatments out there in the world, but when you get cheap ones, you can tell. Now, there are options, and we've talked to you about places where you can get nice window treatments with lining and nice headers for not the splurge cash. So that's an option, like the halfpricedrapes.com. The 3H Linen Company has great linen drapes, even Belgian linen drapes at terrific prices. Of course, if you go to someplace like a custom drapery shop or you use the Shade store, it's going to cost you a little bit more, but it's going to be absolutely beautiful. And they will endure if you get a neutral tone. The window treatments can last you years and years. So I suggest definitely putting some budget towards some great window treatments. And as we always say, hang them high and hang them wide.
You know, this was a tough one because I was thinking about the curtains and kind of what category I would put them in, the splurge or the don't splurge. But it was kind of a tough one because I was thinking, well, I've seen, we have both seen some pretty bad curtains in our day. Yes. And that can ruin a room. So in that way, I agree, it's a splurge. But then I was thinking, but you can get some decent ones for a lot cheaper than you used to be able to, because now you can buy standard nice curtains at a lot of places, whereas before it was really pretty much all custom or you got the worst curtains ever. So I think I agree 100% with what you said. This is an important item for the room, but you don't have to spend a crazy amount for it. So don't skimp on it, but be mindful of that, because those thin, the thin, cheapy kind of polyester looking ones are not going to cut it. You really want something more substantial feeling. Even if it's cotton, you want it to have some heft to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even the Pottery Barn type that is the linen, but it's unlined. If you just buy a panel for each side, it literally looks like you just hung a strip of toilet paper on each side. I mean, it doesn't, and
You and the toilet paper.
I know, it just kind of gets you a little bit, so I mention it once in a while. I was taken in by those as well, because in the catalog, they look terrific. And
they look amazing.
100% linen. But because they probably have 6 panels on either side. And, the way they're taking the photo and all that. When you say, oh, I don't need that many and I'm never going to close them. They're just going to be for adding height and texture to the room and maybe a little color if they're colorful. But no, they don't look right. If you can get something lined, that's terrific. And you want to think about at least doubling the expanse of your window with the amount of fabric that you have. I would say 3 times is really safe. It's going to look gorgeous and you're going to get that nice sort of gathered, flowy look to your draperies. And certainly if you're going to close them, you want to have at least 2.5 to 3 times the width.
Yeah, and I would say just because you have that width, it isn't really for closing, but it's just so you don't have that skinny little piece showing where it needs to look like they are big enough to close them if you chose to, even if you're never planning to do that. So I agree with that. So my second item was actually the chairs in the room, for the same reason really that we talked about the sofa. You're going to be sitting there, guests are going to be sitting there, and it really is worth the money, I think, to get comfortable chairs there. I mean, when we're talking about other rooms of your house, maybe someplace where you just sit down to just put your shoes on, clearly the comfort of the chair it's not as big a deal. But when you're going to be entertaining and having people over, I mean, you want it to be comfortable, unless you really hate having people over. Then I'd say go for those rock hard chairs and then get them out of there as soon as you can.
I mean, this is your chair.
Oh, this is our special chair just for you.
Now, this doesn't happen a lot, but I'm going to tend to disagree with you on that one.
Okay.
I think, of course, if you can spend some money on some quality, comfortable chairs that go with your quality, comfortable sofa, that's great. But I don't think you have to. If I had to choose, clearly I would go with the sofa. We're both top of the list for the living room on the splurge item with the sofa. And then I would do the window treatments in. So there might not be that much splurge budget. So I would say that you could get away with a splashy, fun accent chair. And you don't have to spend a ton of money on an accent chair. It, of course, could be in a tasteful neutral as well. But I think you can get a great accent chair that's pretty comfortable for under $400. And so I think you can get away with that. It might, particularly if it's, what are you laughing about?
Well, I'm just saying that's not a lot of money to spend on a chair. Well, obviously we disagree on this. I mean, but this was a tough one because it's like, how, I don't, can I only have two? I mean, I think the chair, the sofa, and the curtains, I would say they're all pretty important. But again, I think you're coming at it from you don't need to spend a lot of money on it. You can probably get a good deal on it, but I still think it's a value to get a comfortable chair. That's where I'm coming from. I think there's value in getting an attractive chair that's going to be comfortable to sit in. So maybe we disagree.
And maybe we just do. So let's move on to the kitchen before we go at it.
All right.
Hey, we'll be right back with the rest of the show, but keep listening so we can continue bringing you DTT. So have you tried Dupe yet? If you haven't, come on, dupe.com. It is going to be your new shopping best friend. And it's not just for furniture. I know I've shared with you about my coffee table dupe, but you can save money with Dupe on fashion, shoes, jewelry, and more. I just used Dupe to find an absolute perfect twin of this t-shirt that I wanted. It was an $80 t-shirt. I was not going to pay $80 for a t-shirt. Dupe helped me find the twin, like maybe the exact same shirt. Find something you love, and then you can find replicas, twins, and maybe the exact thing for so much less. Give Dupe a try today. It is really so easy to use. You just type dupe.com / before any product URL in your browser, and voila, it instantly finds you less expensive alternatives. They even have an app and a browser extension you can download. No account is required. No sign up is required. It is completely free. I know, can you believe it? But it is completely free to use. Stop wasting money on brand names and start saving with dupe.com today. So, kitchen, I would say appliances. That to me is super important for yourself and for eventual possible resale. So don't go with the white appliances if you can get away with it, if you're changing the appliances. And even if you're just changing them one at a time, I would go with stainless. Even in rental apartments, if they're stainless appliances, they tell you in the description because it's something that sort of like rings a bell for people. Ooh, stainless appliances. That looks great. You can get a nice stainless appliance set or appliance one by one without spending a ton of money, but you're going to spend more than you would on white. And they're kind of phasing out white anyway. So I would stay away from that. And I would put some money into a quality brand. It's something that you're going to be interacting with every day. You know, unless you eat out all the time, you're going to be cooking, whether it's even heating something up. So it's important for the items that you're going to be interacting with on a daily basis that they are of good quality.
Yes, I'm going to agree and disagree on this.
Woo! This is a really controversial episode.
It's a good thing we're not in the same room, Kelly.
I wasn't ready for this. Okay.
Well, I think you're going to agree once you hear what I have to say. So absolutely, the stainless is a great way to go. Now, if you're going for the builder grade appliances, I would not go for the white, which I know is really what you're talking about. But the high end white, I think, is perfect. If it's like the Cafe series, that's the white in there. I think is wonderful. So I think something like that, or in the other colors. If you're going more high end, I have seen some lovely pieces in different colors, or like the high end stoves in the white.
Oh, yeah. Okay, dude. If you're talking about like a French stove in a beautiful off-white, I'm with you.
But even the Cafe, that's because I have the Cafe ones. They came with this house, but they're actually quite nice.
Okay.
because it has
Oh,
the
wow.
brass.
So now I said white appliances, and I said that encaustic tile about your, oh my gosh. And you have both those things. Sorry.
But again, I mean, if it's the builder grade, if it's the lower end, I don't really like the white on that. I mean, this has, the nice, the brass pulls and everything, and it's a different finish on it. So, and yeah, the French ones too as well. So to me, that's where that's a little different, because there are probably some other brands that I'm not aware of that are white that are nice as well. So I'm just going to put that out there. But yeah, that lower, we know what you're talking about. The low end on the appliances in the white, I would not buy that either. I would agree with you on that. So my top one was the countertop, because if it's not a nice countertop, it's hard to make that kitchen look nice. So that is really something I'm going to have to say. Now, let's say you have a countertop and it's not something that you're really thrilled with. There are a lot of things that you can do short of replacing the countertop. There are, for example, paints you can use if you have laminate, or even an ugly granite. There's I've seen a lot of paint treatments done that make it look like soapstone or marble that, I mean, at least on the videos, look pretty interesting and look pretty nice. So that's certainly something that you can do. But boy, that is hard to make a kitchen pretty if there's not an attractive countertop.
I would choose the countertop over the cabinets. I think you can get away with IKEA cabinets even, or painting the existing ones. You can change the doors. You can do things like that where you don't have to pull them all out and demo the whole kitchen and start over. The boxes are going to be the boxes. As long as the wood is good and nothing's rotten or something like that, you can just keep the boxes. You can change the door, as I mentioned. You could keep the door. You could just paint it. But if you take the cabinets off, I'm doing this with a client right now. She's got a larger galley style kitchen. There's really not much we can do with cabinetry as far as changing the configuration. So really, what was the point? And they're good wood. They have probably been there for years, and we're just going to paint them. We're going to do them green, and we got a beautiful Corian quartz to go on top. So we're going to pull off the old granite, as long as the cabinets are sturdy enough, which they should be, because they have a stone on them now, and we're just going to put a new stone on top, and it's going to completely change the kitchen.
You're right. I mean, there's so many things you can do here, and one of them is to reface them or to paint them. So you really do need to look at the bones and decide if you are going to like the way it's going to look if it's painted. If you're on a really, really tight budget, then yeah, the painting is the cheapest thing to do. But again, if you're paying somebody, in our old house, I was thinking of painting the cabinets before we ended up moving. I was thinking, well, it's time probably to paint them pretty soon. Did I tell you what the painter was going to charge me to paint my cabinets? $10,000.
I don't doubt it.
$10,000 for paint. So, we always say paint is, and you hear it everywhere, paint is the cheapest thing, but the painter isn't.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. But, there's a lot of videos online if you wanted to paint it yourself. There's a lot of steps that you can go through. It's a tedious process, but I think you could do it. I see people, DIYers, doing it all the time, so that's an option. So my second item is the cabinets. That I think that is definitely something that's very important. And so if they're not looking good, then I think we're looking at paint, refacing, or replacing. And like you said, replacing is when you're going to replace, that's like you said, if the wood's in bad shape, or in some cases, it's not configured the way that you want it. And in that case, you'll have to just rip it out and start over. Or, one kitchen, that I did, like the cabinets didn't go to the ceiling. So we ripped them out so that we could put in a set that goes all the way to the ceiling. So, there's a lot of things that you can do.
Bedroom. What's your top splurge?
Well, again, I'm going to go for the comfort. So I'm going to have to go back to the mattress. And this is a health issue too, because this is where you spend a third of your life. It needs to be comfortable, but I would also highly suggest you get an organic one. Organic is important because not only is it organic, but usually they do a lot to minimize the toxic material used in the mattress. And you would not believe how much toxic material is in a traditional mattress. And when I say traditional, I mean memory foam. Memory foam actually is probably the worst. There's glues that can be highly toxic. So you really don't want this off-gassing of the toxic chemicals. And if you get an organic mattress, it's going to be less likely to be off-gassing. They'll tout that and say, that it doesn't do that. So I think this is most important. And I personally prefer the hybrid mattresses. That's what I sleep on, which is memory foam, and it has the inner coil springs as well.
I totally agree on the mattress. And if you can go organic, that's the way to go. Even if you have to just get yourself one of those metal Hollywood frames and save until you can afford other things in that room, put your organic mattress on that frame and you'll sleep well. And then when you have the time and have the budget, you can add to the room. There are kind of not too many other things in the bedroom that I think you necessarily have to splurge on. I would reiterate the window treatment, but it's less important in a sense and more important in another sense than the living room. It depends on the type of sleeper you are. I mean, presumably you're not going to have a lot of guests in your bedroom, so it's not really necessarily an appearance thing. But if you are a light sleeper or your circadian rhythms really get messed up, if light comes through, then you really need to consider some good window treatments that's going to have some blackout or some privacy. You should consider where your bedroom window is with respect to the street or any public pathways. Sometimes you're looking right out to the front of the house like I am, and you want to have something that's going to give you some privacy. That's where those top-down, bottom-ups can really come in handy as far as a shade, or maybe you want to do some draperies or some curtains. But I think, again, invest a little bit there. Get the right thing so not only your comfort can be considered, but also the overall look. And so that one, I'm kind of just tagging on to what I talked about in the living room. So I'm going to give you one more. The flooring. I think the flooring is important in the bedroom. If you've moved into a place where there's an old wall-to-wall carpet, I'd get that out of there. And if there's not a nice underfloor, if you're just going to subfloor, then you can either consider putting back wall-to-wall carpeting if that works in the budget, or I would go for some hardwood, engineered wood, a new clean flooring without any dust mites or other allergens living in there, I think is super important. So not only for the look, but more for your health and comfort.
Yeah, I so agree with you, Kelly. I think the wood floor in the bedroom makes much more sense than wall-to-wall carpet, and I just like a rug in there too. But you and I are in warm climates, and I've noticed in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, wall-to-wall carpet is much more common in these colder climates where the floors can be very cold. So anyway, that may be something that's just not going to work where you live, but this is kind of a preference that we have. So I will say that about the bedroom. And then so my second splurge would be the bedspread or duvet covering. So this is kind of the covering that goes on the bed. And again, the bed is by far the biggest thing in the room probably. It is going to be your focal point. It's just a natural focal point. So I think what's on the bed is really going to draw your eye, and it really makes sense for it to be something really beautiful. And there's, just like we've said, there's a lot of bad curtains out there. There's a lot of bad bedding out there.
Oh, so much bad bedding.
Isn't
know. There? It's just like the sets. Stop it.
I don't know why it's so hard. Really, there's so much. There is a lot of beautiful stuff out there, but you might have to order it online to get really some of the nicer stuff. And it might be a little bit more, but I don't think you're going to have to spend $1,000 or anything. I mean, you can, but you don't have to. So I don't really think we're talking about a big outlay of cash, but definitely some mindful searching online to find really something beautiful.
And really look for the fabric content, like the mattress.
Oh, so true.
This is going to be near you all the time. It's going to be covering you. You're going to be breathing in whatever it's giving off. Even if it's just a quilt or a duvet that's going to sit on top, you're going to be in the same space with it for hours and hours. So you really should choose organic and natural materials. It's going to look better, and then it's going to make you feel better. So definitely don't get your head turned by some pattern or whatnot without looking at the fabric content. And if it's all poly or it's all some manufactured fabric, I would probably not choose that. And I would go with something that's all natural.
Oh, so true. Those synthetic fabrics, I mean, they're great for yoga pants, but not so great for materials in your home. It does look obvious if there is a curtain and it is a synthetic fabric, or if you have a synthetic fabric on your bed. It's just not going to look as nice, and it's not going to feel as nice to your hand, and it's just not going to be as comforting. There just is a big difference, and that's just something to think about when you're looking.
Let's go into the bathroom. What's your top splurge?
Ooh, this was a tough one. Oh, boy. I'm going to say, I think it's a tie. Well, I think I'm going to have to say countertop. I was going to say faucets, but I'm going to have to say countertop because, again, it's such a big surface area in a bathroom. It's probably some of the biggest area we're talking about. And if it's not good, it's going to kind of ruin the look of the room. So I'm going to say countertop.
Okay. Well, mine is faucet. And I'll tell you why mine is not countertop, because I think there are ways to get around that. I agree with you. If you're buying a slab or you're doing some natural stone that needs to be fabricated in there, then that can be costly and fabulous. And if you're having a custom cabinet made, but there are lots of options in the world for vanities with a countertop that's a nice stone, a lot of Carrera actually. So then let's move on to the faucet. Like the kitchen appliances, it's something you're going to be interacting with on a daily basis. I want it to not only look good, but feel good when you use it. And of course, it needs to work well. But there's something about that tactile interaction. It's got to just be right? So if it's kind of just a cruddy little faucet and it's low and when you want to wash your face, you kind of like banging your head and it's just not working for you, I would spend some money on a great faucet. It doesn't have to be crazy amount of money, but that is not something that I would skimp on because you're interacting with it on a daily basis.
Yes, I agree with you on the faucet. And it's really, I'm struggling because I am working with redoing the bathrooms here at the house I've moved into. And the one bathroom I've really been focused on, I took down the synthetic curtains. See, we listened to our own advice.
Yeah.
I took down the plastic faux wood blinds and put up bamboo shades, and I took down the mirror that I really didn't like and put up an antique Louis Philippe gold framed mirror. And I was trying to decide, what do I do next, the light fixture or the faucet? I ended up doing the light fixture because it hurt me more to look at it than the faucet. It was more painful to look at.
Well, if something is causing you pain, then start with that.
Well, and I was trying to, so I think the plumber's going to come do a lot of things. So I do plan to get rid of the faucet later, but it's just one thing at a time. So we really do follow the things that we talk about here, and we do think that through. But also it's like the electrician's coming, so I need to do the electrical stuff all at one time. But yeah, this is tough. But the light fixture I think is important too. But there's a lot of light fixtures that I'm not crazy about that don't bother me. The one in my bathroom did, but a lot of them are just okay. And so but that faucet, the faucet, you are touching it, you are using it, you are looking at it more closely. So yeah, I think in general that is more important. So I'm going to agree with you on that one.
And then the tub. Whether you're a person who takes a tub or not, I think the tub is important in a bathroom. Visually, resale, and if you can carve out the time to take a bubble bath, well, that's fabulous. And so you want to be comfortable when you're doing it. So if you can have a freestanding tub, I would go that route, depending on the size of your bathroom, of course. I think a freestanding tub just adds a sense of luxury to a room. So if you're able to get one in there, that's a place that I would put some money towards. They're not inexpensive. So it would be a splurge item, sort of at any end of the spectrum, the entry level freestanding tub to the $20,000 freestanding tub. So you're going to spend a little bit money on that just to have the item. But I do think it's worth it if you can fit it into your bathroom.
Yes, perfect.
Well, we're going to have an episode coming up where we will talk to you about where not to splurge. So places that you can save money on in these same rooms. So look out for that one. And we will link to the sofa episode for sure. And if any other ones come to mind that would tie into anything we discussed today, we will also link those in the show notes. So what are we defining today?
We are defining decoupage. And I was thinking about it because I have recently bought some beautiful decoupaged items. I bought a beautiful decoupaged tissue box cover. And we talk about how the cardboard boxes they come in are so just ugly. And so I bought one that's really beautiful. And I'll link to where I found it on Etsy because there are some beautiful things there. This is such a great way to make something really beautiful that maybe isn't. It's derived from the French, and it's a term for applied cutout paper decoration glued to the surface of objects, and often they're flowers or figures. So the French word means cutting out. There's basically 4 steps to decoupage. You cut out the picture, although sometimes you use the whole sheet of paper to make it. But sometimes you do cut those figures out. You arrange them. If they're cut out, you're going to arrange them. Otherwise, you use the whole sheet of paper. And then you paste them to the surface of whatever you want the decoupage on. And then you apply several thin coats of varnish or lacquer to the top. And sometimes that's up to 12 layers. I know, it's quite a bit of work there. And the French Art Deco designer Jean-Michel Frank used decoupage on some of his earliest parson tables in Paris in the 1920s. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, that would be pretty. I would love to find one of those somewhere. That sounds really nice.
I know. So it was revived here in the U.S. in the 60s, and I remember even seeing it a while back, but I think it's back again now. And so you can see it on boxes, trays, waste paper baskets, lampshades, chests, and screens. So it's everywhere.
What do they put over it? Is it that Mod Podge material, that pasty stuff?
I think you can use that, but back in the day before they had Mod Podge, apparently they just used some sort of lacquer.
Huh. Awesome. Well, good to know. And now we can all look for some decoupage items. It's funny when someone says something, don't you then just either hear that word or then see that thing out in the universe?
Oh, yeah, I think that's Google. That seems to happen a lot.
That's hilarious. So my crush today is a book by Margaret Rankle. I have talked to you about her before. I really enjoyed one of her earlier works, Late Migrations, and her most recent book of essays, which sort of reads like a novel. Her essays flow from one to the other, is The Comfort of Crows. And it's basically about a year in her backyard and observations and thoughts about the natural world. She's a wonderful writer. She's an opinion writer for the New York Times. So if you're a New York Times reader, you might have come across Margaret there. I highly recommend it. I will link it in the show notes. What's your crush?
So my crush is a laundry cart. Remember I was talking about wanting a laundry cart for my new laundry room?
Oh, yeah. You wanted the steel canvas one.
Right. Well, I ended up finding something I really liked on Amazon. It was a different brand, and I wanted something very tall and with big compartments. So I found one that has 2 sections, and it's got the steel frame, it's got the wheels, and it's really nice. I can wheel it around from its little sitting place to my washer dryer, and it's got 2 sections, and it's working beautifully. It's pretty well made, and it's working great. So I can highly recommend this, and I'm excited to share it.
Well, this was fun about what to splurge on. And as I mentioned, we will do a what to save on episode coming up. So thanks for hanging out with us today. And remember, we are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time. Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you.